But I wanted to cover a few things, and if you were here yesterday, Mike Willis talked in the morning, and he was asking questions and talking about XBRL, and what hit me was I did SEC reporting for 20 years in my past, and as I sat there, I said, anybody that's in SEC reporting, what he went through yesterday should be a wake-up call, but it's all about change. So the message in his world was change. It's not just SEC reporting, it's internal reporting, etc. Gary Kokens talked about analytic adoption for enterprise management. Another fantastic topic. He talked about how difficult behavior change is. You're going to see me talk a lot about that. I've been doing this for 2 years since the iPad came out, and the one thing I've found is everybody likes to be a change agent until it actually means they need to change. It's great as long as it's an abstract concept and I want to move my organization forward. What we're going to go through, and Jim, who just went through, and I had a great time talking with him last night at dinner, he's really high level. And I said, that's really a tough act to follow, because what I'm following is basically what I call blocking and tackling. The title of the presentation is Improving Executive Productivity. The first half of the presentation talks about change, why it's happening, what's going on with mobile, and why it's important that organizations and executives start to think about this. Now, my background, and Nick went into this, how did I end up doing this? How many of you were here last year? Okay, this is going to be completely different from last year. The conversation over the last year, when I've met with executives and companies, has morphed into mobile, not just the iPad. The iPad is a vehicle. It's really gotten to the point where the iPad or tablet, the iPhone, the smartphone, Android, it's an afterthought anymore. People have them. I had a CFO tell me just recently, I could tell in the first 5 minutes he wasn't into the conversation. He took the meeting because his CEO told him to take the meeting. And normally, when I was in industry, if the CEO said do something, you at least acted engaged. Okay, I could tell in the first 2 minutes he wasn't interested. And he said, we don't jump on technology just because it's the latest, greatest thing to do. And I turned to him and I said, it's been 2 years. In today's day and age, 2 years is like yesterday's technology. So the reason tablets are selling, the reason smartphones are selling, we're going to go into a little bit of that and why it's important to move there. How many of you are 5 years or less? I know we have the college students, which is great, but 5 years or less in your career. Okay, I think you're the group that, and I tell this to our young staff at Thornhill, you're at that point where don't let it go. This is still relatively comfortable for you. And what Mark Bielstein talked about this morning, when they said, what's the advice? I think he was the one guy that I said, he's honest. Be ready for change. Change is constant. I started doing this in 1981. Nothing is the same. Absolutely nothing. And that acceleration of change is something we're going to talk about. The QR code, how many people scan that? Okay, a few. I do that as every discussion I do just to see how many phones I see go like this. It's becoming more and more frequent. If you haven't used a QR code or seen a QR code, it's an easy way just to access information. In this case, you can download the document. To reach me, real easy, this is my personal email, don@tomoff.com. I use that because if you have a question, I respond to all questions. If you want the presentation, IMA is going to have it. I can send it as well. This presentation is designed, and one of the points I make when I do these discussions is it's an interactive document. There's a lot of things I put in here that are just simply links to other content. So if you listen to this for 40 minutes and then take the presentation and actually read some of the content, you will be doubly informed, and there's a lot of great information. But it really is setting the stage for why this is important. And again, don@tomoff.com. I also have something I'm going to touch on later. You'll need that address. So the mobile internet revolution, I'm going to start out with this video, which is a YouTube video. And if you've seen this, it's about 4 minutes. I think what is obvious there is how rapidly things are changing. Even that video is a little dated. They mentioned Facebook at 600 million. It's over 900 million, and it's going to be the biggest IPO, I think, ever. I found this picture on the internet. I don't believe it's real, but it's a good metaphor for what I read, and there's a lot of things I'm going to say. These aren't necessarily, a little bit of it is my opinion, but most of it is, this is what is out there, this is what people are saying. Business disruption, etc. Nick made the joke about the number of apps. I did a presentation to a group of attorneys, and I wasn't 3 minutes in, and one of the senior attorneys goes, "Are you married? How's your wife put up with you?" I said, she enjoys it. I'm not an annoyance like Norm was describing before about the game he plays. But anyway, I make the point here. I go, these people here, okay, what has already hit the fan, and they haven't even seen this. This guy sitting up here doing his work, he's looking out and going, uh-oh. That's the level we're at. Mobile is taking over everything. And how many people are in industry in here? Okay, how many are in public practice? Okay, doesn't matter which side you're on. One of the things we're going to talk about is expectations are changing. If you're in industry, know that your expectations of your providers can change, is changing. I expect people to respond more rapidly. I expect them to get me information in a manner that is conducive to use on this device. One of the things, I had a conversation last night, and I mentioned to Norm, and I told him not to use this joke because I was going to use it, but I said, when you start down the road, and we'll talk about this later, how do you identify what you want to work on as far as moving down the road of change? And change was a common theme over the last couple days. Jim hit it, but I just say, ask the obvious question. You would be surprised just asking simple questions. So last night, I was using the conference as an example. I said, all the presentations, you can download them, but why aren't they enabled for a mobile device? Why do I have 3 slides on a page? Because they assume you're going to print. You cannot assume people are going to print anymore. And what's that mean? That means documents need to be interactive, they need to be sized a little better, they need to be customized for a mobile world. If you're in industry, your CFO, your board, your senior management, they're going to want their content more and more conducive or capable on a mobile device. I thought this was stunning. 15 years ago, most home computers weren't even linked to the internet. It struck me that really that was just 15 years ago, and that's correct. I remember probably in 1997 where I couldn't believe that you could actually connect to the internet while you're sitting at work. You didn't have to wait for dial-up, AOL. And that was just 15 years ago. Now we just take it for granted. And when the internet was coming in, everybody was saying, all they're going to do is play on the internet all day. None of us could do our job if we didn't have the internet. This isn't my household, but 50% of 11-year-olds have a cell phone. 72% of selling education apps in the Apple's iTunes App Store were for teens, preteens, and elementary school. Of the college students, how many of you guys use a computer in class? Okay, practically all of you, I would guess. How many of you actually use paper notebooks? Okay, that's interesting. My son is a sophomore in a school in Cleveland. A third of his class has iPads or laptops. He no longer uses a paper notebook. Everything is done on the iPad. This is just 5 years from where you guys are. And this is the world that the kids that are coming up, I make the observation now that my kids are in high school, I cannot believe that every high school doesn't let kids use the laptops and tablets in school. Because as soon as you get to college, that's what you're going to be doing. You have to learn that skill set. Why? Learn it before you get to college.